ReleaseWire helps businesses connect with interested journalists and bloggers. Check out the link in the description to save 25% on your first press release.
Admiral, radar shows that we have liberals approaching at 3 o'clock, and libertarians at 9 o'clock, and conservatives at 6 o'clock. They're coming from every angle, every viewpoint. Oh, it's Political Radar with your hosts, Rhonda and Elliot.
Hey, all you political junkies, welcome to Political Radar, the best 30 minutes of unscripted and uncensored political talk you will hear all day. Alderman Bill Galvin is with us for episode 51. Welcome back.
How doing? Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, we got a lot of stuff to
We have a
cover.
lot.
You have a whole sheet of paper filled with...
Yes, I took notes.
Notes.
So, first 7 months of your council job, how's it going?
Good. It's been a real, it continues to be a real learning experience. Finding out a lot, being frustrated by stuff, but being encouraged by other things. Still getting out, talking to people, listening to what they have to say, and it's interesting that, and everyone's got a story, and if you take the time to listen, it changes your perspective, which I think is we should always be open to changing our views and ideas and opinions, and allowing other people's experiences to alter the way you look at the world.
So let's talk about that. What people, their feedback. I know you got a lot of feedback about what should be done with the stadium tax refund money. I campaigned in the same area you did. We spent a lot of time talking with people, asking them what they wanted to do with that money. Do you think that's actually what's happening right now?
No. And part of my frustration was finding out the way the city is set up. It's not set up in a way to take advantage of this windfall that we have. It's not set up to take advantage if we were to suddenly find a steady stream of income coming into the city. I talked to Steve Grenier from DPW, and I was talking about a wheel tax.
And Steve Grenier is the Director of Public Works.
Correct.
Okay.
And he explained to me that even if we were to get $100 million, we don't have the staff in place, hired, that could start the process as engineers and whatever to set up the plan to start changing the infrastructure. Currently, the city replaces about 1% to 2% of its 400 plus miles of road a year. And to just double that, we would need to hire about 2.5 more positions as engineers.
So that means it takes between 150 years for a typical road to be replaced.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a question. So we don't really have the structure for infrastructure within our city. So are we really one of the only communities that don't have a capital improvements plan?
When I talked to the reporter from the Press Gazette, I was surprised to find out that we don't. I don't know. I mean, I understand how it was explained how they do it. They do it on a year-by-year basis. It kind of reminds me of the police department, where it's almost management by crisis, where you can't have a long-term plan of where you want to go and where you want to be. When I was in training at the department, I ran the training program. I wanted to set up a program where the officers would receive training over a period of years, like building blocks, and go forward like that. And I thought, why not? Why doesn't the city have a system in place like that? Not just for roads, but vehicle replacement, building replacement or upkeep and things like that. And we don't. And I don't know how you can plan your budget for year to year if you don't take into account that we need to plan for these things and have the systems in place, the personnel and the finances and the materials to do it.
Which is really amazing that this is actually even being discussed and that this vote went down the way it did. So we had money literally given to us.
Yes.
Right? And we had an opportunity where they decided, and they would be Tom Duane, Andy Nicholson, Guy Zima, Mark Stoyer, Tom Slottig, John Vanderleest, and the mayor. Mayor Schmidt broke the tie to take this opportunity and say, we hear you, but we don't care. We're going to give this extra money and pull it out of the infrastructure funds that were there from the excess stadium tax. And what was the money? What was the amount of money? Was it like $1,550,000 or something that they took?
We took about $1 million, just a hair over $1 million.
Okay, and what was it originally? What was I'm trying to think what was in there to begin with. Was it
2.8.
Okay. So no, we take this money and we give it to property owners.
Right.
Okay. And really not a lot of discussion of why.
No, there wasn't. This is my first budget meeting. I mean, I've got blankets, pillows, food. I thought from what I heard, this thing was going to go until the wee hours of the next morning, right. And we're out of there in a couple of hours. Very little discussion, and once the tie was broken, there's nowhere you can go. I mean, you can't keep trying to regurgitate it and clean it up and redo it again, so it's done.
And were these guys talking about, I was amazed by that because, again, listening to people overwhelmingly tell you, and most of them were property owners, say, we want this taken care of.
Absolutely.
Who are they talking to?
Well, and I'm not going to try and say that people are being disingenuous, but I do find it surprising that, and our district covers quite a different area. I mean, we've got the Near East side, but we've also got the other side of the East River. You're looking at socioeconomic spread all over the place. And the one thing I was hearing, I mean, very plain, was fix the roads and those with water issues.
And the storm sewer.
Fix the storm sewers. And I know from the west side, from working for years, the west side has suffered with storm sewer issues and the roads. I know that over on Eastman Avenue, in that area in there, Dan's Park and that, they've been complaining about the roads. So then I hear people are complaining about taxes going up. And I had probably during campaigning maybe 5 to 10 people complain about taxes.
Agreed.
But all of that has to be taken into context too. You get that tax bill and it's a kick in the gut. And that's the thing. If you were paying on a monthly basis, it might seem less like paying your cable bill or your heating bill. But you get this one-time bill, but Green Bay's portion of that is so small, it really is ridiculous. It's the schools, the technical schools, it's the state, Brown County, they all get a bigger piece of that pie. But everyone just generally assumes it's all, Green Bay.
So do people really think we're ever going to improve upon these things, that we're never literally ever going to have to raise taxes? There seems to be an obsession about, oh my God, my taxes went up $10, I'm moving.
Well, and yes, and you hear that, and I know from being on the police department, we were fat when I started on the department. We had what I call the Cadillac department. We had a lot of time on our hands to do independent, proactive work. And we have pared that down so much to the point where we're not even doing the day-to-day work. It's not getting done. And so when I hear people say, well, let's just cut this, let's just cut that, we can find these efficiencies. And we have found some very good efficiencies, not only in the Green Bay Police Department, but other departments throughout the city. But when you hear that we're 9 years behind on trimming trees, that's just one small example. Unless you got a tree hanging in your face, it's not a big deal. But 9 years behind. The park department has projects that are years and years waiting to get done. And some are minor, some don't affect that many people. But you have certain expectations. And so what are we paying for? I've found that if you go ahead and make a cut and nobody knows about it, it kind of just goes off the radar. And until someone's affected, they go, what the heck? Mm-hmm. And so I think we have done all the cutting we can. And to say that, people are hurting, and yeah, everybody's hurting. But at some point in time, you have to fix your roof.
Okay, so I think it's interesting. So Mayor Schmidt broke the tie. He went, again, I'm so confused by that vote. I don't understand what his thinking was. And again, we didn't really hear anything other than the fact that he believes that he will reach out and the federal government will help pass some infrastructure legislation, which I'm sorry, based on the current environment of what's about to come down the pipe in that area in the federal government, I don't think that's where I would be relying on help from.
Well, I had a meeting yesterday with my financial advisor, and I know the mayor and I had talked right after that budget meeting, and that's what he has expressed, was that he thought there'd be some infrastructure money coming no matter who won the election. And then talking to my financial advisor yesterday, she told me, yes, stocks for infrastructure-related companies are taking off because it is believed that this administration, Republican administration, will figure out some way of giving monies to states, and the states are supposed to trickle it down to different municipalities to start improving infrastructure, especially as it relates to roads and bridges and things.
Is that literally history, though? I mean, are Republicans typically known for that? Because I don't think they are.
No, I don't think so. And like even the mayor said, he thought whoever won the election, this has been, like when we were campaigning, this has been a major complaint in the United States, is that our roads and infrastructure related are in a deplorable shape, and we need to start getting on board to get it fixed.
Because it's not sexy to fix roads, right? I mean, it's not an issue that you can stand up and, there's no shovel involved. There's nothing there. It's like, it's not a really, but people want this done.
They want it, and we need it done. It's, you look at the improvement to Highway 41. Could we have gotten by? Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the related accidents and the slowdown in traffic and...
That was billions of dollars, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was crazy.
That's some serious money. Yeah. And, you look at the state is going to go into debt, looks like $500 million to start fixing roads and stuff. So, I mean, I understand where he was coming from. And it certainly looks like, I mean, when you start hearing it from financial advisors and things like that, that these stocks are starting to take off because these companies are anticipating it. There's something cooking far below the radar of what I can see.
But I'd like to hear why he feels that, people that rent, people that bought vehicles, people that literally live here that maybe just don't own a home, don't deserve to have that money put back into,
Which is about half.
Right. I mean, that's what I want to hear.
Well, and I'm not sure. We didn't talk about that. I think people tend to ignore the renters in this community. I think they think that the landlords pick up the cost, but if I was in private business and owned rental buildings, I don't think I would absorb any increase.
You can only do that so many times.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you want to continue to show a profit with your investment, you're going to have to pass those costs on to the people that
if you want to retain people, I mean, let's be real. People, are moving out of Wisconsin more than ever. That's been proven.
Okay.
And it's also proven that we need to retain people to stay in Green Bay. So what is the reason? Like if you don't value certain, aspects of your city, why would these people stay?
Well, and these are some of the things that I'm hoping to see that we can change, that we make this or continue to improve on this community. That's why I'm pushing for bike lanes, better crosswalk, better education programs so the pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists can learn what their responsibilities and duties are and respect each other. There's other things we can do in this community, and I think we've had a huge issue with landlord-tenant issues for years and years. I don't think we're the only community, but I think some communities have figured out a better way of dealing with those issues, for both sides involved there, and I think Green Bay could do a lot more towards that end. They've done a lot of stuff, but I think we could go farther yet.
And I think you've done a great job, by the way.
But all right, so do we have a bigger priority than lead pipes, though?
Okay, lead pipes. And there's a gentleman by the name of Tom Hoy. He lives in my district. That was one of his things when I was campaigning that he explained to me. And he came, he made a presentation to Protection and Welfare. I'm on that committee. We turned him down. He went to
what did he want?
Finance. What he wants is the city to purchase and install in every home that has lead service, either on their side or on the city side, a water filter that attaches to your faucet. And he said, as an example, he did the water test at his house, and the test was 7 parts per whatever. The danger line is 15 parts per whatever. That test, though, was a result of the water absolutely sitting still in his pipes for a period of time where he wasn't allowed to even flush the toilet or anything else like that. Now, the city's remedy to this is you get up in the morning and you open your tap and you let it run for X amount of minutes, and this would clear it. And so he had 7 parts, and I'm like, well, that's not the danger line. But like someone from Bellin Hospital explained to me, do you even want 1 part? Mm-hmm. Okay, and all right, I'll accept that. I wouldn't, and if I had children, I certainly wouldn't. But you figure that the easy fix is turn on the tap. And if you're running the toilet and stuff, that's doing all that it needs to be done too. Our concern was we get the filters and say we get a good price because we buy them in mass, and we buy the spare filters. And now we got to take someone from the city to oversee this job, which means they're not doing their another job, or do we hire a part-time person so there's some more cost? Mm-hmm. Then we find a way of distributing to the homes. Do we get volunteers? Do we hire more staff or take more staff
I'll
away?
volunteer.
All right. So we get them to the home. Now, do we install them? And where's the liability if we install them? Okay, so we don't install them. So I trust Joe Schmo is going to install it. I trust that Joe Schmo is only going to get his drinking water from that one tap. I trust that Joe Schmo is going to change that filter on time and not allow it to sit there too long and start collecting bacteria and then become another hazard to their health. We looked at that. We thought, boy, there's an awful lot of liability. There's an awful lot of process involved and a lot of let's hope they do the right thing as opposed to let's turn on the tap in the morning, flush the toilet a couple times, and we're all good to go. Then we looked at Brown County Health Department, who the numbers we got from them was there's been 32 incidents of children with above levels of lead in their system. But all of that through their investigation showed it came from lead paint.
Okay.
So do we have another issue here in this community with lead? I think so. And I think more importantly, this points directly to lead paint. But that's another side issue. So when we considered all of this together, we thought, this is it's an important issue, but it's not an issue that we think that this is the best remedy going forward. The city, and granted, one lead service is one too many, but the city has enacted an ordinance saying that the homeowners are going to be responsible for getting rid of their lead service on their side. The city,
On their side of where it's piped into the home.
Right. And to aid them in doing that, we have gathered over $800,000, and we will pay for it. And we'll do it at the same time the city's removing the lead service on their side. So there's less disruption and mess and everything else.
And this has already started.
It's already started. You can only do so many a year. We contract that out. We don't do it. The city doesn't do it. We do this with contractors and a combination of contractors and the water department. And I know I had my road torn up to hell, and I was upset because it took so long to repair it. And that was a whole other story I found out with contract work. But anyway, we are getting on top of it. Yeah, 2020 seems like a long time, and it certainly is. But we are reducing those numbers significantly every year. And because of our weather, I mean, if we were down south, we could do this 12 months out of the year, and it'd be much faster, and it'd be done a lot quicker. But we're running into some problems where residents aren't responding, as happens.
Well, responding to what, though?
Responding to the notifications from the water department.
Does it come in their water bill?
No, it comes as a separate mailing.
Oh.
And just like when you get that separate mailing that says, hey, here's what you do, just as a precautionary. We don't know for sure if you have lead, but as a precautionary, run.
Is it in red?
Yeah, with a little beeper.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, does it look like a piece of sales propaganda? Does it look like a...
Maybe they should actually do a press release. Has the city done something where they had like a press conference or something a little bit bigger to reach more people?
I know there's been news stories on it, but yeah, could we reach out more? And I know Mr. Hoy was concerned about our outreach based on some background work he had from his personal life and that. And could we do more? Absolutely. Could we go door to door? I mean, we've identified 1,400.
So here's the other thing. Our water bill goes to our landlord.
So he pays your...
Yeah. And the reason for that is because if we skip rent and we move out, he's still on the hook for it.
Right.
So, he doesn't want to deal with that with any of his tenants.
Well, as I understood it, these mailings are sent to each separate apartment.
Okay.
Not to...
I mean, I don't know, because I don't think ours is.
Right to the... Yeah, because and many people have set it up so that they are responsible. The owner of the property is responsible for the water bill. But I believe, from what I was told, every separate apartment gets that mailing.
So you talked about the fact that there's actually some news stories out there covering this, and that's where people can find out what's going on. And apparently, that's not necessarily okay with our mayor.
Well,
the Green Bay Press Gazette, and so if people they don't know what I'm talking about or I'm referencing, the Green Bay Press Gazette have been doing some articles, and there are some people that feel that they're giving more of their opinion versus telling the story of what's happening, and our mayor is one of those people.
Well, it's a line, and I used to be the public information officer for the police department, so I have some experience in that, and reporters have a job, and that job is to dig up information and get it out there so everyone knows what's going on. They also have a job to remain impartial, or
try to disclose their
bias. Their bias, absolutely.
He actually spoke for. He said the residents and businesses are becoming more aware of the poor journalism of the Press Gazette. They have made personal changes, and I need to make more. I'm embarrassed to have them as a news source. This is what came from our mayor.
Well, and that's his opinion. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I mean, I'm not always happy with the stories I read in the Press Gazette, sometimes because it pokes me the wrong way, or I believe it's not slanted the way I see things. But then again, that's me saying it's not the way I see things. And so I have to.
So we have an obligation on the part of journalists to be impartial, but we don't have an obligation of our public officials to be impartial.
Well, I think he's defending the city. It's like if someone was talking about my mother, okay, I'm going to defend my mother. And if I feel the story was slanted poorly against my mother, I would certainly take action and try and address it. Do we address it in a public forum? There's probably a time and a place where it's proper to do that. And or do we try and handle it behind the scenes? And like I know from with the police department, we didn't always agree with the stories.
Well, this was an email that the mayor sent to the editor of the Press Gazette, and then they released it. They released it,
and I'm not sure why the editor chose to do that.
Well, you can't win either way, because if it's behind the scenes and it doesn't come out, then you get accused of backroom dealings.
And I understand that, but I would like to see, like where could the mayor and the editors have sat down, or the reporter, and said, why did this? This is why. Okay, all right, let's agree to disagree, or now you've opened my eyes up a little bit. I kind of see how this is.
But they're a business. They want to make money, and they profit on drama. They profit on when this kind of thing is happening. They like it. They need it. Well, they literally need it right now.
Well, that's the balance. And, and the printed press has been taking a hit. I have friends that worked for the Press Gazette for a number of years, and their staff has been drastically reduced. You see how much news is actually in the paper. You see they're actually pulling in a lot of news from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I think it's sad. I know Elliot is a big get it online and all that kind of stuff. Call me old school, but I like to be able to.
I still buy the paper, and I get so much shit about it.
Dinosaurs.
I know. But my wife gets on me for buying the paper.
Waiting
too.
To do that for so long.
But I enjoy the paper. I cut my teeth delivering newspapers when I was in 5th grade.
I did too.
So it's I would not like to see the newspapers go away, or at least if you could get me something on my Kindle that looked like a newspaper and I could follow the story from because quite frankly, when I try and go online and read news stories,
But that is the question. Is it the news? Are they telling the story, or are they telling their story? Because so many times you see that they're telling their story. You get two, specifically, you were interviewed. You get 2 sentences to tell really as much information as you can, and then they compile their own idea and interpretation of what they experience, and then there's your news story.
Well, when you look at when we used to have competing newspapers, you could have 2 different stories on the same subject, each paper having what they believed was the truth and an unbiased opinion coming, or an unbiased story coming out. And so just looking at different newspapers could have different bends or looks on things shows you that I don't think you're ever going to have the perfect story that comes out. I would have liked to have seen in that story, I don't think there were any non-factual things. Everything was factual, but I would like to have seen more about what the city has done and is currently doing. I've always liked the printed press because you get more story than you do from, say, a TV news story.
And I think that's the thing, that they understand that that's probably all out there and very true and realistic, but that doesn't sell. And that doesn't get people sucked in. We have an entirely different, I guess, standard of what gets us to even want to click on something, to want to go and buy a newspaper. It's headline driven. It's all of that. So that is what they know. And what they also know is that the more they poke the bear, which would be the mayor, the more likely, because he's a hot topic, they're going to get some more news.
Though the Press Gazette isn't the only game in town. We have 4 TV stations. Yep. We have at least 1 news radio station. There's public radio. There's what we do here. There's Bill Mindel. There's tons of media.
Right.
If people choose to get their media from one source and they want to be involved in the drama, whose fault is that?
It's not really someone's fault, but I think that the bottom line is, you have to really make sure that you're getting all of those news sources and using them all versus just one direct news source, and that's what you base your opinion on.
It's not an easy balance, and I mean, I give credit to the reporters because this is something they have to deal with every day. And we've seen reporters that have left this area because their stories were too skewed and didn't change, even when people tried to have discussions with them about it. And so you'll see reporters or that just kind of, they're gone. And that's because even their bosses have said, we can't do this. I don't envy them being in that position, to be honest with you. It can't be easy. But I appreciate what they try to do. I don't always agree with them, but something I don't even always agree with my mom. So I mean, that's going to happen. I can accept what is out there, and if it gets too biased, in my opinion, then I have other options out there.
But I think there's a general distrust for media, and I think part of it is you don't get a lot of, you have a conversation with your mother, there's more airtime involved in that, right? You sort through things, you take care of it. The problem is you get 2 sound bites, and that's a story.
Right.
And then they fill in the rest of their own commentary with voiceover. And
Yes.
that's the problem. And that is the issue. And that's what I love about, and I'm not just plugging our show, but I love that's what we're doing, because we're giving people more time to explain the situation and to lay out the story.
Or enough rope for themselves for them to hang themselves.
But we're in a
that's up
society
to
that
them.
wants everything now, and they
Right.
want it in 30 seconds. And again, that's why I like the printed press, because I feel you get at least more detail.
But then we're quick to judge it. And so I think what's very dangerous about this, and what, I'm not a person that wants to attack the media on a regular basis, because I feel like without them,
we're lost.
what are we going to do? I mean, we really rely on that. There are people that can't get to meetings. There are people that can't,
Absolutely.
drive to town hall. And it matters to them. And so
Right.
this is what they need right now.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's-
Without the media, this
exactly.
society is lost.
But I do believe that they need to be held accountable. I'm not sure. I think both parties handled it in an interesting way. But let's be real. With the current political environment, there's really no, it's all go for it, whatever. There's no boundaries out there right now. And that, I think people will probably, they're going to use that mindset and they're going to expand upon that. And we're going to see more of that, I think.
I think, unfortunately, yes.
I think the situation, you can talk about this, you don't have to, but I think the city is going to see some interesting times in the next few months. I do believe that the mayor, there are things he's doing that I believe aren't helping his cause to stay in that chair. I'm not sure how that's going to roll out, but I do think we're going to be talking more about that.
Absolutely. December 5th is coming up quick. Like I've been telling everybody, I wrote a short piece for one of the neighborhood associations, covered a little bit about Chris Weary and then a little bit with the mayor. It's just like any other case. We hear a lot of things in the news media. We hear a lot of things mouth to mouth, rumor, innuendo, things like that. What we have to do is try and keep a clear mind. And when it's all said and done, let's look at the facts and draw our conclusions from there.
And he's sentenced. It's a sentencing hearing on the
believe-
5th of December, which is coming up.
Well, what I believe is the judge accepts his plea at that point.
Or not.
Sentencing or not. I mean, there's so many variables as this thing progresses. He accepts or doesn't accept it. If he accepts it, he could pass sentence then, or they could do sentencing later on. And if he doesn't accept it, well, then, everything's wide open again. So once he makes his plea, once it's accepted, once he's been sentenced, then I think the city government needs to take a look at that.
Do you believe that there are certain aldermen that are going to wait for that, or are they going to push forward?
They've already not waited for it.
Okay. Because I think there's a few of them that want to get a spring election going.
Yes.
Is that fair?
I would
to
say that's fair. I think some would just like a change. They'd like to see the mayor gone 2 months ago, 3 months ago, years ago. And I don't think their opinion is going to change no matter what comes out on December 5th.
So if that happens, are you going to run?
No. I've already been told by my boss.
Can I talk to her?
You better wear body armor.
I love that you assume it's a woman. That was awesome. That was awesome.
I mean,
No, but but there are definitely people that are out there that are already fishing around. I mean,
sure.
I know, there are people.
Sure.
That,
There's
that
blood on
names
the
are
water.
floating.
And,
Right, for sure there are.
Yeah. Sure. And I mean, I think people should consider that.
Mm-hmm.
We should be prepared for any eventuality here. And if we're not, shame on us.
Mm-hmm.
We should know what is, if he stays, okay, how does things progress? If he has to leave or decides to leave on his own, how do things progress? We need to have as little ripple in our government as possible. And then we have to move forward. And so people should be prepared one way or the other. You hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
And it's not just us. It's developers, people that want to come and do business
Sure.
in Green Bay. It's all those people watching what we're doing.
Absolutely.
We always assume we're in this little bubble of our own little Green Bay world. But really, it affects more people than we realize.
People are looking at us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's business people. There's people that want to move here. There's students that want to attend school here. And all this stuff comes up. Yeah. I mean,
And all of that should be taken into consideration. I believe you do that, but I wish there were more Alder people that would be, using all of their, their tools in their box to think about those things when they're speaking, when they're voting, when they're not voting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All of those things. So that's all I have to say.
Wow. That's all she's
That's
got
all
to
I have to say. I think
So
we're
thanks for being here, Bill.
Yeah, no problem.
Bill was our first guest, I guess, episode number 1, and now we're at episode number 51. So you can go to politicalradar.com/51 if you'd like some show notes. And Bill, can you ask your fellow aldermen that have not been on to maybe come on for us?
Who hasn't been on yet?
Well, we have a list, and it happens to be all the ones that
I called Guy Zimma 4 times, by the way. So I have reached out to him and I've asked him to come on, but he's afraid of us. So he's not coming on.
I call them the usual suspects.
That's too bad.
the usual suspects have not been on. And I think Tom Slottick will be on, and he's my alderman now.
I would like that. I respect Tom a lot.
Yeah,
we don't agree on taxes a lot, but I'll tell you, whenever he talks money, I listen because
Me too.
he's very tuned into that stuff, and I respect him. In fact, my kid and his kid, I used to take him to Montessori together in the morning. We used to live out a couple blocks from him.
Small town.
Yeah.
But you need to work that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I screwed up the ending. Politicalradar.com/51. Join the Political Radar community on Facebook. Hunt me down on Facebook. I'm Elliot C. there. On Twitter, I'm Elliot. And if people would want to get in touch with you, Bill?
What is it? District 4 at greenbaywi.gov, 920-639-4640.
And Rhonda, what about you?
I am on Facebook and at @Sitnicow on Twitter.
Oh, that's right. I have a Facebook page.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. What is it? Galvin for Alderman?
William Galvin for Alderman.
Are we supposed to know what that is?
William Galvin for Alderman.
It's
It's all one word.
if it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't have it. So
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's all we got.
all right.
We're out. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Political Radar. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. To stay up to date, visit politicalradar.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.